Welcome back to another episode, everyone. I am back at the Tom Rose School in High Ridge, Missouri, School for Professional Dog Trainers, and today we are going to be going over 3 of the exercises in agility. Agility is a great thing to do with your dog. It's good for bonding, and most dogs do enjoy it. So what we're going to be going over in this video is the A-frame, walk it, and teeter. Let's go ahead and get started. All right, I'm here with Rocky, one of the instructors at the Tom Rose School. He's going to be explaining to you the steps that he likes to teach his students while they're going through the course in order to learn, understand, and perfect the A-frame. So when the students pass, the dogs do it the correct way. So,
all right, so there's a couple ways that I can do this, right? One way we can do it is we would take a nice treat, something probably malleable, put it on the contact point. So when you're going up, you want to put it closer to the top. So I'll put this one right here, right? And then when you're going down, you want to put it closer to the bottom because you want to make sure that the dog hits the contact point, okay? This also helps with the dog flying over the obstacles as well because they tend to slow down and hit the contact points.
We're going to start with a puppy, and when you're doing this, the reason why he's emphasizing these contact points is they have to touch these points when they're testing in order to pass. If the dog jumps over the yellow area indicating the contact point, or they don't touch the one on the other side, it's a fail. So this is why it's so important to do this step. So we have a puppy we can bring over?
Yes, most definitely.
We have Ben here, and he's going to be using his puppy to help us with this demonstration.
Awesome. So go ahead and get started real quick. So you see how this dog slows down, grabs the treat, talk to him. Good. Slows down again. Wait.
Now, what happens if you have a puppy or a dog that you're working with that seems a little timid? Are there certain steps that you like to take that help the dogs overcome that?
So what you can do is we can start the dog up here, right? So we'll put him up here and do the same thing.
So Ben, if you don't mind, we'll...
More than just the contact point, but that just depends on the dog, okay?
Okay, cool.
So you want to go ahead and put him up top? Yep. Good. So that's the way I would address that.
Okay, excellent. And what's something that may be different when you're working with an older dog?
When you're working with an older dog, you might be able to do the same process. It depends. So I would sometimes even go to just luring. So I'll take the treat, go up with the dog, and then once he gets right about here, yes, give him the treat.
Is that an option we can do with the puppies as well?
Yeah.
Ben, do you mind demonstrating with yours, using some luring and have them go over nice and slow that way? The main idea is we want to make sure we create a positive association with the training and learning the A-frame. Exactly. The more fun the dog has, the faster they're going to learn and the easier it's going to be for the trainer.
Exactly.
All right, so now we have an older dog here, and if you don't mind, demonstrate the process of how, I know he knows how to do it already, but the training process of it.
I would start off by luring him. A-frame.
And as you guys can see, he already knows it, so he's ready to just jump over and do the obstacle the correct way. When we are starting, we would lure them, right? If it's an older dog, you would lure, or like you said, if your dog's not motivated by food, maybe you have a low motivation dog when it comes to their food drive. If they like toys, we can use toys as well. I've even seen some people go over the A-frame with their dog if the dog is motivated by the person and not food or toys. Yeah. But the main idea is taking something that's going to motivate your dog to get them to do the obstacle. And the other big takeaway is that they stop on these contact points, or at least rather slow down so they're not missing those contact points. So pretty simple exercise, but make sure you guys take your time with it. With everything we're doing with our dogs, we want to be patient and we want to move at the speed that the dog is progressing at that we're training for that specific exercise. So let's head on over to the walk it.
Okay, in teaching the dog walk, we begin with the walk almost flat on the floor. We'll usually put a couple of concrete blocks under it, so it's only about a foot off the ground. Oftentimes we'll place food along the dog walk, and on leash, without a correction collar, we'll lead the dog over the walk, showing him the food as we go. Once he's comfortable with climbing up on the dog walk and walking across it, we'll raise it up a little bit. Generally, we'll take the sawhorses that you see under it now, we'll turn them on their side and allow the dog to go up and over at a much lower level. Once he's doing that well, we'll do the same thing, but we'll bring it up to full height. The handler always stays close to the dog in case there'd be a mistake, he might fall off. We can always grab them before they do. Very rare that that would happen in the way that we built them up. They're more interested in getting into food and getting to the next piece. And very unusual to have a dog that's afraid of the dog walk. Okay, we're going to demonstrate teaching the dog walk. The handler's going to hand me his dog, and he's going to place food randomly over the dog walk. Okay. Always putting a piece of food on the yellow area at different spacing as he goes across. Then you come back and get the pup, hold him fairly close on the leash for safety reasons, and lead him over the dog walk. He's got his arm over the puppy so he can't fall off to the left. So a very successful time going over the dog walk. We don't want him to turn around and ever go backwards. They only go one way on this jump. So it's important, even if the puppy wants to turn around and go back, hoping that there's more food, that he doesn't do that. The next step would be to take the dog off leash and do essentially the same thing, but he'll remain near the dog as he goes over the dog walk, but he'll have to place food once again on the dog walk. Okay, same thing, handler's walking right next to the puppy all the way. And then he catches him on the other side. This case picks him up so he can't reverse direction and go over the jump the wrong way. Now he can do almost the same thing. He's going to space out the food more, and he will not accompany the dog. He'll walk near the dog, but he won't walk right next to him as he's done in prior tries. Again, we removed the leash for safety. It's too likely the leash could get caught on in between. Okay. The pup actually went so fast that he missed food, which is not unusual. As we progress with the training, we could ultimately only put food on the final contact area and the beginning contact area, just to make sure the dog's always touching the contact area. The very last step would be to do the same thing without food, and then you're ready to go with the exercise.
So now we have the teeter, and Tom's going to be breaking down, explaining in detail how he likes to teach his students so they know how to train their dogs to properly work on the teeter.
First of all, we begin with the dog walk. We wait till the dog is secure walking the narrow plank over the dog walk. He's comfortable with it, he's not a bit concerned. At that point, we can move on to the teeter. The problem is with the teeter is, of course, the floor falls out from underneath him, which scares a lot of dogs. So it's very important in the early stages that we keep it low, first of all, so it's on the lowest setting. And second of all, that the handler walks along with the dog and lowers the teeter themselves so it doesn't go slamming down and scare the dog. The worst thing could happen here is for the dog, especially a young puppy, to have a bad experience and become fearful of it. Okay, we're going to, again, place food in both contact zones and maybe one in the middle. Keeping in mind the dog's already done this on the dog walk, so this is nothing more than another dog walk as far as he's concerned. Now, I would place the food in the middle of the contact because you don't want them jumping too hard. There you go. So as she goes over, she's going to take her hand and reduce the drop. Okay, so that went smoothly. We could have a helper assist in lowering this as with myself. I could stand here and lower it. The only trouble is we're adding another thing that the puppy may have to get used to. Some may be worried about a stranger, but we'll go ahead and try it with this pup just to demonstrate. Okay.
Cheater. Yes, good girl. You got this.
Yeah.
Yes. Good. Yes, good
Okay.
girl.
That worked better that time. The handler realized the puppy was going to be a little bit fearful of me and prevented her from being able to jump off. Next step, we'll do the same thing on leash, but this time we won't catch the teeter. We'll allow it to go down, which may concern the puppy or it may not. It depends on the puppy. And if you do have a problem, you have to go back to lowering it so it goes down slowly.
Cheater.
So this will be the first time it's allowed to slam down on its own. Okay. The food bounced off, so she's good. But this particular puppy didn't seem to have any problem with the teeter slamming down to the ground, even though you could see it shook the puppy quite a bit.
And a common question that's asked in a lot of my training videos is, how many times should somebody have to do it before their dog is doing it correctly? And what I always say is it's based on each individual dog.
And
so they may have to go through 30 times
Right.
with the food and the leash and the guiding before they're even able to get to this point.
Right. It's
Some
based
dogs,
on performance, not number of repetitions.
exactly, for
So-
each individual dog. So some dogs maybe 10 reps is enough, others may need 50.
Or 100.
So, or 100, yeah, exactly.
They have to do it for 2 weeks before. We've had dogs who were scared to death of the dog walk, got them used to that, went over to the teeter. They went and allowed it to slam down too soon. The dog then became afraid of the teeter. We had to go back to the dog walk, which he's now afraid of, go through that, come back over here again. So we want to avoid those problems.
And when they get to the point when they're still assisting, they could still assist, but allow it to go down a little bit faster each time,
Yes.
up until the point, so it doesn't have to go from assisting to a straight drop, even though we are assisting, but we can gradually increase the speed of it dropping based on how much we're holding it.
Correct, yeah. This next time, we're going to do it off leash, but food is still on it.
Cheater. Yes, good girl. Willow.
Run all the way to the end, all the way to the end. Okay.
Yes, good girl. Willow. Willow.
That worked well, but did you notice that because she didn't go in line with the teeter, the puppy went off to the side? So we're creating a bad habit. If instead she had been right in line with the teeter, then the puppy would have had a perfectly straight exit from the teeter, which is exactly what we want to teach.
And again, the reason why we put food on the contact points is, number one, to make sure the dog is touching the contact points, but more importantly on this side, that the teeter touches the ground before the dog jumps off.
Right, yeah.
Because if the dog jumps off before the teeter touches the ground, that's a disqualification, correct?
Yeah, and that's why we're putting the food about here on the teeter, because when the dog eats it, while it's eating, the teeter is going to lower to the ground.
And since our dogs are creatures of habit, if you do something enough times, the dog is going to believe that there's a reward here, even if there's not a reward. So when you are going to test this, the dog is going to come, make sure that the teeter touches the ground before they jump off, because they're looking for a possibility of a reward.
Next rep, we're going to do off lead, but with food only on the final contact. And this time, try to swing around and get in line with the teeter as the dog exits.
Cheater. Yes, good girl. Yes. Willow.
And she got a perfect exit that time.
The main takeaways that we have from each of these obstacles in the agility is going to be making sure your dog touches the contact points and making sure your dog stays safe. So with that being said, something that was brought up before in some of our training here at the school was puppies doing agility. And people were saying that that's bad for them and it could be dangerous, but you actually did some additional research on it. Can you explain a little bit what you did and how safety is always such an important thing?
Yes, we contacted a couple of orthopedic veterinarians and asked them what they thought about what we were doing in teaching agility. In one case, I think we actually showed them a video of dogs doing agility at the school. And their opinion was it's absolutely safe. They said we don't do anything that puppies playing together in the backyard wouldn't be doing the same. It's the worst thing would be falling off of something like the dog walk or something like that. We've had puppies fall off of decks and all kinds of things just playing in the backyard. And they said they don't believe that that would lead towards hip dysplasia. or any other obvious physical problems.
Yeah, and sometimes just having puppies go up and down stairs could actually be more than these obstacles in agility. So again, important thing is making sure you're safe, making sure your puppy's safe, and when they're doing the obstacle, they're touching the contact points, so you're getting the correct repetitions every time. So if you do decide to compete, your dog does it the right way and you pass with a nice high score.
If you are of the opinion that teaching agility to a puppy at a young age is dangerous for the puppy, I would recommend that you talk to your own veterinarian and get their opinion and go by the veterinarian's opinion.
Absolutely. Or if they really feel uncomfortable, wait till the dog's older.
Right,
That's fine as well. We like starting with puppies when they're young because imprinting is such an important thing when it comes to training a dog. And if you can get your young puppy to enjoy something when they're training at that young age, they're going to love it so much more when they're older, and it's going to make it that much easier to train them at that very high level. So thanks again for watching, everybody. Thanks again, Tom. I really appreciate your help in this video.
Welcome.